When I remember it now, it feels like a bad dream. It's the kind of thing you only hear about in stories. You never expect it to happen to you, right? Well, 4 years ago, it did. My name is Olivia, and this is the story of how I was trapped in an avalanche of snow when I was on holiday in France. My family has always been super into skiing. Well, let me rephrase that. My mom is an expert skier, so naturally, my big brother Steven and I grew up skiing, but my dad hates it. We only live an hour from some huge ski resorts in Colorado, so we're pretty lucky that we get to go a lot. Dad comes along some of the time, but mostly he'd rather stay home with the dogs. He always says you couldn't pay him enough to slide down a mountain on two sticks, and I believe him, especially after what happened to me. This time we were on vacation in France, excited to experience the culture, the food, and especially to ski the Alps. There are a ton of great ski resorts there with cheap lift tickets, so we planned on spending a lot of time skiing. When we finally made it to the resort, Dad went to get some mulled wine, and Mom, Steven, and I went straight to the rental shop. We couldn't wait to get out on the slopes. It looked like a storm was rolling in, but was that going to stop us? Absolutely not. The staff laughed at the over-enthusiastic tourists and showed us the way to the gondola. We skied a couple of the lower trails first, just to get back into the swing of things. After a couple of runs, we were ready to hit the top of the mountain. We took a really long chairlift, and soon we were above the tree line. Everything started out fine. I found some moguls, Steven and Mom raced each other, and we were having a great time exploring. But then the weather started to turn. It got really cold and windy, and we could see more clouds coming our way. People above us were coming down. We had plenty of days of skiing ahead of us, so we decided to ski back to the lodge too. We started to head down, Mom first, then Steven, then me. Suddenly, there was a deep rumble. It was like nothing I had ever heard before. I turned to look back up the mountain and just saw a huge tidal wave of snow crashing down towards me. Oh my God, I had to get out of the way. Suddenly, it felt like I got hit by a car. I tried swimming to stay on top of the snow. I had to make sure I didn't swallow snow. Suddenly, everything was silent and dark. What was happening? I tried to move my arms and legs, but I couldn't. Snow was packed tightly around me. Oh my God, I thought, I'm buried by the avalanche. I knew I had to stay calm, but that was the last thing I felt like doing. My arm in front of my face had burrowed out a hole when I stopped, but still, I knew I didn't have very much air. I tried to breathe more slowly, but I started to panic. It was so cold and dark. I remembered that you should spit to find out whether you're facing up or down, because your spit follows gravity. My spit dropped straight up, which meant I was upside down. I tried to wiggle and dig my way out, but the snow was pressed too hard against me. All I could do was wiggle my toes in my boots and my fingers in my gloves. Oh God, I was going to die. Help me! I tried to scream, but it was muffled. My tears started to freeze. Help me! It was so cold and so dark. I felt very tired all of a sudden. The panic started to calm down. I just hoped that Mom and Steven weren't buried too. My eyelids started to close. I just wanted to take a little nap, and then I could try harder to get myself out. Suddenly, I opened my eyes to the sound of a shovel crunching through snow. I remembered where I was. Help! I'm here! I started to yell again. The crunching got closer and closer, and then a hand grabbed onto my shoulder and yanked me upwards. The bright sky hurt my eyes, and then everything went dark. I fainted as soon as I was rescued, so Mom and Steven filled me in on what happened when the avalanche hit. They got lucky. Mom was only buried up to her hips, so she was able to dig herself out and then help Steven, who was buried up to his neck. Then they started looking for me and called for help. I am so thankful that Mom insists on always carrying an emergency radio, and our jackets all had transceivers. I was buried for 30 minutes by the time the snowmobiles and rescue dogs were able to get up the mountain to us, and Mom and Steven pretty much thought I was dead. My salvation was one fluffy brown retriever rescue dog called Teddy. Everyone thought I had been carried down the mountain by the avalanche like Mom and Steven, but I was actually buried really close to where I had been standing. Teddy ran straight up the mountain, barking like crazy, and then started to dig at the spot where I was buried. He knew where I was. After that, I was airlifted to the hospital and they induced a coma. Everyone was afraid I might have brain damage from lack of oxygen, but fortunately I had just enough air to breathe. I was also super lucky to not get frostbite. I was in the hospital for a week recovering, and then we flew back home. After that, I had to see a therapist for months because whenever I went to sleep, I got nightmares that I was being buried alive again. The therapy really helped, but my therapist thought it would be even more helpful to go back to France and meet with the rescue team and to talk about what happened. Mom agreed and set up a trip back. I was so nervous to meet the man who had rescued me. His name was Victor, and he had a huge smile on his face when he saw me. He explained that many victims can survive for 15 minutes, but that I had been under for over 30. He hadn't expected me to be alive at all, let alone as fit and healthy as I was now. "I have a surprise for you," he said, and then whistled. I heard a dog bark, and then a brown golden retriever came running over with a huge dog smile on its face. It was Teddy, the rescue dog. I dropped to my knees and let Teddy lick my face. "Thank you," I whispered, rubbing behind his ears. I got a photo of me, Teddy, and Victor, which I still have pinned to my wall today. I owe them my life, and I will always remember them. Victor gave me a present before I left, which was the bright yellow rescue dog harness that Teddy had been wearing on the day they saved me. It's one of my most treasured belongings, and it has a great story to go along with it. I'm doing pretty well now. I still get nightmares sometimes, but I know how to deal with them. I couldn't take Teddy home with me, although I wanted to. He still has a very important job to do and more lives to save. But I did adopt a little retriever puppy. He sleeps in the bed with me, and it really helps with the nightmares. I call him Theo because he reminds me of Teddy, the dog who saved my life. By the way, I do still love skiing. It would take more than an avalanche to stop me. Although now I do check the weather and avalanche warnings twice before I head up the mountain. I suggest you guys do the same. Always be extra careful. So that's my story of how I got buried alive under 5 feet of snow. Do you have any similar experience that happened to you? Then comment below and share it with us. Thank you for listening to my story. If you enjoyed it, please like this video and subscribe to our channel.